I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait.
Hi and welcome back to the Rideshare Buddy YouTube channel. I'm Kevin. Today is a Friday. Unfortunately, it's a train strike day and I totally forgot about it. But I'm on the way to WeFlex in London to have a look at some of the EVs down there. Now, I'm not interested in the new EVs. I want to have a quick look at some of their used ones because that really suits me a lot more. I don't want a 5-year deal. I'm really looking for something on rent to buy of about 3.5 years. I'll push it to 4, won't go past 4, and if I can get a 3-year deal, that'll be even better. And that's mainly down to my age. I'm 61. I retire at 67. I don't want to be pushing credit all the way through to retirement date, just in case I want to stop earlier. I've got my operator's license, just waiting for the payment processing to be done. Once that payment's done, I should have my license within about a week, so I can really start to take on airport ones now, if I want to carry on doing that, because I've been having second thoughts. I've done some airport ones. Bristol's not bad, but Heathrow, it's a bit of a bind. When I was younger, I could do motorway ones without a problem. Not too sure I want to do it, to be honest. If you know I've got my licence, I might just stick around doing local work, in which case an EV would be ideal. Not going to be quite so ideal, and I'll explain that to you now, if I do decide to do Heathrow and Gatwick ones, and even Southampton or Harwich. But at the moment, on the motorway heading down to WeFlex. I'm running about an hour late, mainly because I picked up a Bristol reservation, Newport to Bristol Airport reservation, and I've done that this morning, paying about £40. So that basically pays for my petrol down to WeFlex and pays for a lunch as well. So even though I'm not going to be doing a lot of work because of the rail strike, I've covered my costs for the day. So let's look at these EV ranges, and particularly if it's possible to do Heathrow and further beyond from Newport, and ideally Cardiff. And even the better cars aren't going to do the range in the winter. Now, what you'll see on a lot of advertising for EVs is a WLMT, I think, figure, and that's a mid-range average across the range of tests. So that's okay if you're doing a lot of mixed driving, you can get an idea. But if you're doing mainly airport work, and in the winter, you get an airport one down to Heathrow in the winter, you're going to come nowhere close to those sort of ranges which are advertised on the adverts. So let's use one car as an example, which is the MG5 EV. On paper, it looks great for an airport transfer car. 250 mile range, you got a fair decent amount of luggage space. So what could possibly go wrong? Well, let's have a look at that range first of all. That range is a mid-range. It's an average of a range of tests. So that 250 mile is not going to be ideal for an airport transfer, because it mixes up weather conditions, it mixes up traffic conditions, mixes up driving conditions to get a sort of an average. Now, with an MG5, if you delve deeper into those mileage and range tests, you can find the different types of testing and the different ranges. So, if you're doing mainly city runs in the summer when the weather's a reasonable amount of temperature, that MG5 won't deliver 250 mile range. It'll deliver about 340 mile. Very good if you're doing just town work, school runs, social services runs, a bit of town work like that. Excellent for that. But let's have a look at an airport transfer one. Cold conditions, so you're talking an airport run to Heathrow on the motorway, cold conditions at highway speeds. The range from 100% down to 0% on the MG5 is 160 mile. Now that's at 100% charge down to 0% charge. You'll get 160 mile driving at 70 mile an hour on the motorway. But I don't have a home charger, so I'm not going to be charging up to 100%. I'm going to do 80% on a fast charger. I also am not going to let the battery run down to 0%. I'm going to have a little bit in spare, so I'm going to run it to maybe 10% before I want to recharge. So of that 160 mile, I'm really only looking at, I'm knocking 70%, so I've got to knock 30% off that before anything else. So that's 160 minus 30%, or that's 16, 32, 40, got it 50 miles. So I'm down to 110 usable miles if I'm using fast charger in the winter. So let's carry on. So we've got 110 mile range in ideal conditions with just a passenger, with just one driver, because that's how the testing is done. It's done in a wind tunnel on a rolling road with the weight of a driver. So knock off with 4 passengers and luggage, you can easily knock off 25% of the range for the actual weight. So we've gone from 110 down to 80 mile in a real world situation with an MG5. That will barely make me to Bristol Airport. Certainly won't get me to Heathrow. Certainly won't do Cardiff to Heathrow. Barely manage a Cardiff to Bristol. And we can forget about students at Swansea completely. So the MG5 with a usable winter range on a motorway of 80 miles, it's not an airport transfer vehicle. So let's dive deep into those figures for the Nero EV. Nero EV, 173 mile range on the battery. But let's look a little bit deeper, and what it actually delivers is about 380 mile around town. So if you're running around town, you can get real good economy because of the regeneration. They've got really good regen on the Kias. But if you're on the motorway, that range, if I remember rightly, drops down to 207. Completely different. Again, we've got to do that the fact that I'm on a public chargers because I've got no home charging point, and I'm not going to run it down to 0. I want to recharge at 10%. So again, we're looking at 30% coming off that 207. So 200, that's about 70 miles, just over 70 miles. Let's go 135 mile range in the winter at highway speeds. That can just about get me to Heathrow from Newport, and just about get me from Heathrow to Cardiff, until we add in the passengers. Again, 4 passengers with luggage, you're going to lose 25% of your range. So 205, let's knock off 30 for charging. What did I say? 130, 135. Knock off another 25, that's another 30 mile coming off. So you're looking at 100 miles. Not good. So I can easily do Bristol Airport ones from Cardiff, Bristol Airport ones from Newport is not a problem. I can do that without having to charge. But I can't do Newport to Heathrow on a single charge. So these EVs are not going to be any good if I want to concentrate on airport work. Even the Kia Niro EV. It's got a good overall range, fantastic around towns. If I was just going to do city work, no good at all for airport work, especially in the winter. But as I say, I might not go down the airport transfer route. I might stick with local work, try and build up a regular base of local customers, and then just top up with Uber. Uber prices aren't good enough to support a car like that. Just doing Ubering, I'd have to get my own premium passengers and then just top up with Uber. I've got to have a look at these cars and see what they're like. I think if I go with EV, I have to forget about Heathrow work, I have to forget about Gatwick work, and I have to forget about cruise work down to Southampton, Harwich. So the question is, will I have build up enough work? I don't want to do school contracts. The whole point of me doing this is to work around my lifestyle now. It's to do, if I don't want to work, I don't have to work. If you do school contracts, you're into a commitment. They're good paying, well paying, if you got your own car and your own operator's license. They pay really, really well, and you make good profits, but you lose all of your freedom, all of the flexibility that I want with my age. So I don't know. I'm going to have a look at these cars, see what sort of mileage I have, see what sort of conditions I'm in. It may be that it's worth just taking one on and just doing local Heathrow, so local Bristol work, airport work, and a little bit of Cardiff work, but forget the Heathrow, and then just top up with some nice Friday, Saturday night theatre runs into Cardiff at premium rates. That might work. I'll have to do the figures. But I'll have a look at these cars first, and then I'll give you feedback on the way back as to whether I think they're actually worthwhile. I think they are on the used models, but we'll see. Yeah, so I'll go and have a look at these cars, and then I'll let you know on the way back what I think. But I have to admit, if I was 10 years younger, I'd go for a bit more expensive car, a little bit bigger car, and but I'll have the years in which to pay it off in. I don't have that luxury of years, 5 years max, and I really want to be paid off within 3.5 years if I can. The car also not only just has to pay for itself, it actually has to give me a good return. I'm looking for a return. I don't want a very high repayment rate each week. £220, £230 is about the maximum I really want to push it to. And on that sort of budget, WeFlex have used cars, including insurance. I could get the MG SUV, MG ZS I think it is, or an E-Niro, not the new Niro EV, but the E-Niro, or right at the bottom end I got the MG5s at £189 a week, including insurance. But I don't think the EV5 is any good at all. I'm not even going to be able to do Bristol runs in winter with that range. So the E-Niro is a possibility, and I think I'd have to double check the figures for the MG SUV. I think that's just about acceptable, just about on a par with the E-Niro, so that's a possibility. They do have the VW ID4 used available, but that's very expensive. I think it's £270 a week, way over my budget. I could probably afford to do it, but it would then impact on my lifestyle. I'll be working to pay off the car, not working the car to pay for me. I know a lot of youngsters, street cred's very important to them, and so they like to go for the big expensive cars for the street cred, and then they're working all hours to pay the car. That's not me. For me, the car is a tool to earn money on, and if I'm paying very high repayments, I'm not earning money. This Christmas I'm going away going to a hotel, stay at a hotel for 4 or 5 days. It's costing me £800. If I was paying £270 a week back, I couldn't afford to do that. Next year I've just booked a holiday to go to Norway fishing to get my Monster card. That's £1,500. If I'm paying off a car at £270 a week, £280 a week, more if it's a Tesla, I can't do that. My style of life, I'm not going for street cred. I'm going for the life experiences. Having a nice away for Christmas, being looked after, no cooking, no cleaning, no nothing, just going out and enjoying it. That's more important to me than driving in a big car. Same thing next year, far more important to me to go out fishing, getting that life experience, than driving around in a £300 a week Tesla. So, budget's important. Budgets, I'm prepared to go up to 240 maximum a week, and that has to include insurance. If there's no insurance, then I'm probably looking about 180 max. That's going to give me £60 a week for insurance. We'll see what we can get for that on a used deal. Okay, so I'm on my way back now. Interesting. A little bit disappointed. They didn't have the cars I wanted to have a look at. On the website they said they had used MG ZS and used Kia e-Niro, both at £235 a week including insurance. Perfect budget for me. That's just spot on my sweet spot, and that's what I really wanted to look at, but I had none, so I couldn't. A shame. They had a MG5 that I could have had a look at, but not a chance. Wouldn't even be able to do a Bristol run in the winter with a fully loaded car on that range, so I didn't bother looking. They did have some nice used Kia EVs, the new EVs, which is slightly longer than the old e-Niro, slightly more boot space, and what's really beneficial is that the back doors are slightly bigger, so it's easier to get in and out of the back door. But not on my budget, not on my price range. Included insurance, £260 a week, or £205 if I got my own insurance. So I might have a look at what insurance is, if I got it myself, to see if I can sort of nudge it down a bit. But £50-60 a week is the going rate really for private hire insurance. So I'm not sure I'll be able to bring it in my budget range if I did. But they were very, very nice cars, very, very nice EVs. They had 2 white ones, some grey ones and black, and I really, really like white. I think the Kia Niro EV in white is a beautiful looking car. So they had 2 in stock. One had 16,000 miles on the clock, the other 17,000 miles on the clock. So not a lot of mileage, and quite late model, and they looked immaculate. Of course, what you got to consider is how much you're actually going to be paying for these things. It's over 2.5. Sorry. Limit is 60 miles per hour. Can't believe the number of speed cameras down here now. Never used to be that way. But both of those were £260 a week. which included insurance, over 4.5 years. So the thing you got to remember is the value of used EVs, even very new ones, have just tanked. They really have tanked. Nobody is buying the second-hand ones, and people who are buying new are quickly getting rid of them now. So yeah, I think the likelihood is that I'm going to be overpaying if I did do one. But they're very nice cars. No complaints about the quality of the car. I'll have to have a think. I really will have to spend the weekend considering it, because I do like those white Nero EVs. So if I did take one, I'm going to have to reconsider my plans, because the long distance airports just won't be able to do them in the winter. May just be able to squeeze them in the summer, but not in the winter. And there's a lot of business travel in the winter, so I'd have to reconsider that. Certainly couldn't stay on Uber. Uber rates just wouldn't pay for one of those comfortably. So we'll have to drop it. We'll use Uber to top up, but we can't use Uber as the main source of work. So do I really want to go on to Dragon or Visa or a local car? No, I don't, because I don't want to work in cash. I do have, and I will have, my operator's license probably within a week, 10 days at most. So I can start looking for maybe putting together. No. But got a lot to think about over the weekend. So until the next video, where I may be in a new car, you never know. I mean, this week is my 8th week with this car, so I can now just give it a week's notice and hand the car back. It's going to take about a week to get the new car plated, so I've got a little bit of cash available to see me through that handover time. Yeah, will it happen by the time I do my next video? Doubtful, but it may. So until next time, drive safely, and